Welcome to the TTouch for Cats. Linda Tellington-Jones, one of America's foremost animal experts, developed the TTouch as a result of over 40 years of work with animals. Over the years, the TTouch has been practiced in over 30 countries on almost every type of domestic animal. And the techniques you will learn in this video are used in zoos worldwide. Enhancing your relationship with your cat and improving their health and well-being is what the Tellington Touch is about. Now, here's Linda.
Hi, I'm Linda Tellington-Jones, and this is my friend Isabel. And we're going to be showing you today some of the Tellington Touches, or the TTouches, that you can use to make a difference with your feline friend. I've been doing this work with cats now, off and on for the last 10 years as I worked with horses, and everybody who has a horse has a barnyard who has a cat in it. And what we found is that you can take a cat who perhaps is fine if you just kind of pet it once in a while, but it doesn't want to be in your lap. And by doing these strokes and various touches, you can have a cat that is really willing to snuggle in there with you and really spend some quality time that gives you something back. We've also found that cats who are perhaps okay with the family, but terrified when a stranger comes to the door, change their attitude. Or take an older cat who is starting to get a little bit stiff, doesn't want to be touched quite as much, hair, coat doesn't perhaps look as good. By stroking the ears and working on it in this way, you can really make a difference in how long your friend stays healthy. Show cats, we've used this quite a bit on. It's really stressful for a cat to go to a show and be stuck in the cage and have a stranger, the judge, picking it up and handling it a little like a piece of meat. And by preparing the body of your cat to be handled and touched all over in a nice way, in a encouraging, respectful way, I find that it really makes a difference to that show cat. We also find for injured animals and for cats recovering, for instance, from surgery or who have various physical problems, that by doing these very gentle touches all over their body and by working the ears, that you can help that cat to recover faster and to stay healthier longer. There are a couple of stories I'd like to tell you. I have lots of them, but it's a question of which might be the most interesting. I think perhaps my co-author's story of her cat is one of the most interesting. This was a 14-year-old cat belonging to Sybil Taylor who lives in a household where strangers are coming constantly because she has a bed and breakfast. And before the touch, her cat used to disappear into the closet or under the bed the second the doorbell rang, and she wouldn't see him until the guests left. So over a period of about a month, Sybil used to do the touch on this guy when the guests weren't there, and she'd maybe do 5 minutes, and at first he didn't like it, he wanted to get away, and after 4 or 5 times he would just sit a little bit longer, pay a little closer attention, and after a period of 2 weeks of doing the touches, perhaps 5 minutes, not more than twice a day, what began to change is that when the doorbell rang, he'd kind of hang around and say, I wonder who that is. Maybe that person is interesting. And after a month, he actually started coming out, looking people over and saying, I might not only sit at your feet, but maybe in your lap. And that's a typical case that we find of these cats who really don't like to be touched. I have another story of what we call the slasher cat. This was a calico that came to one of my 3-day trainings. This was a cat that would sleep on her friend's bed. She'd be sound asleep, move her hand a little, and the cat would nail her with her teeth and claws. Wasn't very pleasant, but she loved this cat. And we brought him into a 3-day workshop and passed him around, which we often do, so that many, many people did the touches, many being maybe 4 or 5, did the touches on this cat over a period of 3 days, not more than 10 minutes at a time because the people couldn't take it, nor could the cat. And in the beginning, we had to wrap her in a towel, and they actually had to wear gloves at first. And by the end of the third day, this cat would just kind of hang out and be looking to see, okay, who's going to do this to me next? And the reports that we had a year later, when she came back with the cat to another training, was that this cat is completely changed. She, maybe once every 3 or 4 months, she'll kind of take a little nip or a little scratch, but she catches herself and she thinks about it. And the relationship is very different between them. So with that in mind, I'm going to start doing some of the touches on Isabel here. And this is an interesting situation. Isabel was one of these cats who also didn't like to be touched. She was always on the bed of my friend Annie, but she didn't like to be handled very much. She was really skittish, didn't like her back touched at all, and certainly not her tail. And Annie began doing just these very gentle touches with no more pressure than you would very comfortably use pushing the skin on your eyelid in a circle. And it took, actually, I think a couple of months before Isabel began to seek it out, which is a long time because I've had changes in cats in as little as 3 or 4 times. So Isabel is really a good example here because she's had quite a bit of this touch now. And she's never been a movie cat before. What I love about the touches is that it's not like massage. With massage, an animal, if they accept it, will begin to feel good and they'll kind of bliss out and they'll lose it a little bit. What happens with these little circular touches is that we actually have a measurable change in brainwave patterns. And what we found when we did actually 2 biofeedback research projects using an English-developed instrument called the mind mirror is that we were getting an activation of all 4 brainwave patterns in the animals. Now, when I first saw this on the screen, I thought, this can't be happening. How is it possible that we can get an activation of beta brainwaves? These are the brainwaves that we humans use for logical thinking. If I say to you, okay, what's 3 and 4? And you're hooked up to this apparatus, you will have an activation of beta brainwaves in order to answer me. Well, we were getting it with the animals constantly. We were also getting alpha, theta, and delta. And as most of you will know, the alpha brainwaves are activated when there's relaxation. They've also learned now that alpha brainwaves are necessary in order to retain learning. So that if you have beta, but an animal is, or a person is nervous, you won't get a retention of learning. And I think this is why there's such magic to the touches, because not only do the animals begin to really like it and accept it, but they develop a greater intelligence. And when I first started using that term for animals 15 years ago, an animal expert wrote to me and said, come on, Linda, animals can't be intelligent. But I'm using the Webster's Dictionary definition of intelligence, which is the ability to adapt to new situations. And that's what I think our animals really need to learn to do in this day and age of high stress.
If you have the TTouch cards, take a moment to get them so you can follow along.
For those of you who don't know the touches, the way you check that pressure is put your thumb gently on the side of your face, just make a contact, and with these first 2 middle finger and forefinger, as gently as you can possibly do it, push the skin on your eyelid in a circle, and then pick your finger up, or fingers, and then make another circle and a quarter. And it's only with enough contact that you don't slip over the skin. That's how light a 1 touch is. And on this leg, on the injured leg, that's all I will be doing. A 3 touch is, and let's try this, is the firmest circle that you can make that's really comfortable. So try a couple of those. That's just what we consider a 3 only. And then go back to the 1. Feel the difference when there's absolutely no pressure and when there's a 3 pressure. It's quite a difference, isn't it? Now go to your arm. Go to the fleshy part of your arm Make a very light connection with your thumb, here, your thumb, and then as lightly as possible, push that skin in a circle on your arm, like you did on your eyelid for your 1, and see how little indentation there is. And check the person next to you. Just watch for a moment. Take the person next to you as you do your circle, and see if they're sliding over the skin. Because some of you may still be sliding over the skin instead of catching the skin and pushing it. Now observe the just imperceptible amount of indentation, and now go back to the 3, feel that 3 pressure, and go back to your arm and make that pressure, and look at the amount of indentation. Do you see the difference between the 3 and go back to the 1 and then the 3, and now look at the indentation at 3 and go twice as deep, what you imagine twice as deep, and that's like a 6, or with some of you it might even be a 7. But you get a sense of that. Now you'd think, okay, to get a 9, you'd go 3 times deeper. Try it. It stops your breath. So if we want to go really deep on an animal, on a big, strong, muscled animal, instead of pushing harder, which will stop the breath, and I have the feeling it's like stopping the cells. It's like, whoops, what's going on? You tip the fingers, so the fingernails lead, those of you who have them, and now give that pressure of a 9, and you'll find that you can go very deep and you won't hold your breath. One of the important things here is to make the connection very softly with your thumb. Soft connection, and these 4 fingers then just rotate, push the skin in 1.5, 1.25 circles. Push the skin in 1.25 circles in a clockwise direction, usually. And we'll get into that later when you do counterclockwise. And what I'd like you to do is practice some of the variations that people get into. Common thing to do is stiffen the fingers and push the skin around fast. Try that. You see, when your fingers are stiffened, it makes you hold your breath, so you can't do a soft circle. Working the ears is one of the most important things that you can do, and for many, many reasons. What we've found is that it really helps the health of your animal. And the reason that it does is that in the ears are connections to all parts of the body, just like we humans have in our own ear. And actually what we found is that by teaching people to work their animals' ears in this way, they learn the value of working their own ears, so that in a way your cat will become your teacher. If you have a cat who is car sick, which many cats come to us with this problem, or a cat who just really gets upset when it's time to go to the veterinarians, stroking the ears from the base of the ear gently all the way out to the tips, and my forefinger is folded back and gently inserted into the ear so it's back against the side here, and I support the ear as I stroke in this way. That's a girl. Now sometimes they don't like this in the beginning, and you just have to really support them under the chin like this. Make sure you're not choking your kitty. That's a girl. And I don't squeeze her, I just gently contain her so that she feels supported. That's nice. You do both ears. And I stroke in a long pattern from the base of the ear, just gently stretching the base of the ear a little bit with the cat. They seem to appreciate that because they often tighten their ears up so that releases the ear and releases stress. Now around the base of the ear is what's called a triple heater meridian in acupuncture. And it's worth remembering because this area right around the base affects the digestive system, the respiratory system, and the reproductive system. So if you're having difficulty with a cat who has a stomach problem or isn't eating well, it's worth working this area around the base of the ear. If you've got a cat who is traumatized, stressed out, for instance, say your cat has to travel in the car and is terrified, the respiration will be elevated. So what you do is stroke these ears to help lower the respiration. If your cat does not like going to the vet, you can make it a pleasant experience by working the ears at home. That's a good kitty. It's all right. And they'll often shake their head like that, so don't be surprised. You just kind of have to fold the finger back along the back side of the ear so it doesn't give the feeling of being stuck in the ear. That's a girl. That's a good kitty. That's nice. And it's not a hard pressure. You'll find that the amount of pressure will vary from cat to cat. I have a Tigger cat who's he looks a little more like a cougar than a cat, and he really likes a lot of pressure, and other cats who don't like much pressure at all. So just remember to start off with that same pressure I talked about of the lightness of pushing the skin on the eyeball in a circle. It's not a lot of pressure, and it's very hard to believe that that little bit of contact does as much good as it does. I have a funny story to tell about ears. About 8 years ago, I was visiting a new friend, and she had this beautiful white Persian. She looked like a 2-year-old, very healthy and vibrant. And I was sitting there talking to her and telling her a little bit about what I did. And I said, by the way, if you want to keep this lovely cat healthy for many years, just consider every once in a while, even if it's only a few times a week for a few minutes, just stroke the ears a little. And she said, well, that's funny. I've been doing that just instinctively and since this cat was a kitten, and she's 18 years old. I couldn't believe it. So it doesn't take you much time, it can't hurt, and it's really a way of helping to keep your cat healthier for a long time. That's nice, isn't it? Now, you may have noticed that I was doing some little hair strokes and slides like this in the beginning because Isabel was a little nervous when she first got up here on this couch with all these cameras on her. So when your cat's a little bit nervous or doesn't like to be handled, try this very gentle stroking on the long-haired cats. On the shorter-haired cats, you can just sort of take the skin and roll it just gently between your forefingers and thumb and find a way that your cat likes it so that even though the hair is short, you can still kind of get a little bit of a slide on it. And the reason that I think it works so well is that apparently there is a neurological effect on the slides. And we've done this for many, many years. I had a German neurologist in one of my horse trainings many years ago, and we were working the tail of a very nervous stallion who did not want to be touched at all. And we were doing these just gentle slides, and we found that when we did this, that he settled and was quiet within about 10 minutes. This was a horse that normally kicked when anyone got behind him and did not like the contact. And the neurologist turned to me and he said, that's a very interesting effect it's having, that if you think that the tail is an extension of the nervous system and that you're really having a profound effect just from these simple hair slides. So you can do this all over your cat when you find in the beginning that perhaps they don't like the touches as much or they're just too nervous at first. That's nice. I'm going to show you now some of the basic TTouches or Tellington touches. Imagine your hand like a big paw. This is called the clouded leopard touch, and it's one of the primary touches that we use. I came up with this name in the beginning because I just finished working on a clouded leopard in the Los Angeles Zoo. And we found that if we would give animal names to these touches, that it made it fun. It was easier to remember. And there's something special that happens when we think about that clouded leopard. It's as though the spirit of the animal comes in and helps us do the work. Now imagine, or just hold actually, put your fingers like this and have the pads of your fingers meet together. Those pads are what we're going to be using to push the skin in a circle and a quarter on the body of your cat. So it's just like that. And we make it very soft connection with the thumb, and then these 4 fingers just gently work together, your middle finger leading, and very softly on your cat. push the skin in a circle. Notice how softly this first joint in my fingers here move. And I pay attention to the quality of my breathing, because you'll find in the beginning when you start to do this work, there's a tendency to concentrate so much that you'll hold your breath, and your cat will not like it. As a matter of fact, try that. Just hold your breath and do a few circles. Try it on your own arm. Just practice a little here and follow me, and connect with your thumb softly on the underside of your arm. Soften your hand like this big paw and push the skin in a clockwise direction, 1 circle and a quarter. In order to do this smoothly, we imagine the face of a clock in just maybe the size of a quarter, and make a connection with your middle finger and very gently push the skin around that clock. We start at 6 o'clock, facing downward, as the clock would normally sit on your cat, and push around the face of the clock till you've come all the way around past 6 and gone to about 8 o'clock, and then do a little release and go to another spot. Now, when you're practicing on your own arm, what you will find is if you stiffen your fingers, the movement is a little bit uneven, and your cat will not like it. If you just put your fingers on without the thumb, try that. And you'll see it's not quite the quality of connection as if you make this little connection with the thumb and then push the skin in a circle. I really recommend that you have your cat sitting by, team up with a friend, and practice this on each other so that you begin to see the quality of feeling that you will get with these simple touches. I mean, they're so simple that much of the time when people tell me the responses that their cats have to the touch, I can just barely believe it, and I've been doing this for many years. So try it. Now, say your cat doesn't like the touch. Says no matter how soft the fingers are or how nice a connection you make, doesn't like the connection. What you can do is kind of soften the hand, and I imagine instead of this paw of the clouded leopard, I imagine that my fingers are the front legs, and I kind of lengthen them out a little bit so they're still soft and not stiff, but I can curve them around the curves on my cat, and the heat and support of my hand very softly pushes the skin in a very large circle. You can cover a big area like this, and sometimes this is the best way to actually start rather than with the specific touches. Often people ask me, what am I really feeling for when I'm doing these touches? The beauty and the simplicity of the work is that you don't feel for anything. I pay attention to the quality and the softness of the circle, and I don't see a separation between myself and this cat. Often people say to me, you must know an awful lot about animals to work on so many different species, on snakes and birds and iguanas, and how is it that you can work on an elephant or a tiger, and how do you know so much? I don't know anything about these animals. The way I see it is that our cells are the same, and there's a oneness that happens between us at a cellular level. So I just have that feeling of becoming one without boundaries with your animal. I have a great deal of respect for animals besides having the love for them. And I think that respect, that mutual respect that we have, really makes a difference in how you will melt or meld and be able to give your cat something really special, but also you will find as you do these touches that you'll get as much back as you give. So that when you sit down, maybe after a long day, or maybe you're feeling a little bit down or a little lonely, or maybe you just want to make your cat feel good and you're feeling great, what you can do is just breathe into this soft circle. And I find that I can be tired when I start to work on an animal, and when I finish, I'm like refreshed. What are some of the other touches we can use? Well, one of the things we want to do is get all the way down the legs, And I go right under the elbow gently here and hold her leg up like this. Ask her for a little foot. It's okay. Oh, I know. That's a girl. It's a very good girl. Yes, she's been a very good kitty. Oops. As we get down here into the paws, I make smaller and smaller circles. And when we get right down here into these confined areas, I use the very tips of my fingers. And this is what we call the raccoon touch. You know how these little hands of a raccoon are so soft and really pliable? Well, you want to get in here, and I hold with my thumb just very softly so that there's a connection between the thumb and forefinger here. And I do these touches, these little raccoon touches, all around. Easy now. She's a little bit nervous about it. Notice I support the elbow and the foot here, the leg here, very softly, and I move all around here. Now, this is really helpful for cats who are nervous, easily stressed, because you'll find that they hold the tension in their feet, just like we do. So we get in here and we work it softly. This is a great way to prepare your cat to have their nails trimmed, their claws trimmed. So you do something nice to them, not just when you're picking up the clippers to shorten those claws. And I can sometimes support with my easy. Oh, I know. She's, oh no, is this claw trimming time? No. Come on. Yeah, you be a good kitty. Come on. Oh, I know it's really hard. And she's a little sensitive about this, aren't you? It's okay. Notice how I support her foot under my hand. I don't grasp it or try to hold it tight, because she won't like that, and she'll want out of here. That's nice. Oh, yeah. See, she gets a little nervous as soon as I get right onto the claws. That's a girl. That's a very nice kitty. I support a little bit with my thumb here of my right hand as I make the little raccoon touches with the forefinger. Easy. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. That's nice. That's nice. And you'd be amazed at how much this will help to simplify your claw trimming. If you've got a cat who's easily stressed, is afraid of loud noises and quick movements, get in here and work these paws also, and work right underneath into the pads, because cats hold tension in their paws just like we humans hold tension in our feet. So if you get in there right between the pads here, that's very good. And see, she accepts this after just a little bit of patient perseverance here. Don't give up too easily, because our cats are very able to learn this. That's nice. Look at that. That was very good, girl. That's nice. Now, another place that you can use the raccoon touches is on the pelvis of cats who are really nervous about having their backs touched. And it's fairly common, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Let's see if we can get back here. Come on. Oh, yes. That's a girl. No, that's a girl. That's a girl. It's okay. That's a girl. That's it. That's nice. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, yes. And this is not at all uncommon to have this little bit of concern about being touched around the hindquarters. I get many cats who seem to be really sore or sensitive, sometimes from birth, sometimes when they're getting a little older and start to get a little stiff or arthritic. And I do very gentle touches. That's nice. Supporting lightly with the thumb. And the amount of pressure here is the least amount of pressure that I can possibly use and still make enough contact to push the skin in a circle. It's not over the hair. That will irritate them. You see her tail start to go? Just gently. That's a girl. That's it. Now, sometimes your cat may be so afraid of contact here around the tail that you might have to use like feathers. Sometimes I use to stroke them so that your hand isn't actually on them. On some cats, we have to wrap them in a towel, and I'll demonstrate that to you after a bit. That's nice. not scratched me or bitten at me at all, but I've only touched her around the head and mouth. And I haven't tried to move her at all because Martha said if you touch her at all around the hindquarters or even on the ribs, she just reacts immediately.
I've been scratched twice in the last 10 minutes just by, if she's in a situation where she is uncomfortable or afraid, she'll turn and slash or bite immediately.
Now, what I'm working to do here is to see if we can find where her boundaries are. I mean, is she consistent in where she allows you to touch her or not? So far, when I was working with her just in the house, she consistently let me touch her anywhere on the head and neck. And I didn't go any farther back because I've seen consistently that she doesn't let you any farther back.
Right.
What we're going to do is wrap her in a towel now. Okay. It's okay. It's a good baby. It's a good baby. Now, what's important here is that her paws are on the ground. I never wrap a cat up. I think it's very unfair to them because they've got to have the sense that they're in control by having the feet on the ground. And I've got her here quite firmly, but not so she feels that she's choked. I mean, there's a fine line there. Good mama, good mama, good mama. Oops, I've got to stay above her. And this isn't so good because she can back out of this. Careful, careful. And I like to have, what we have to do is lift this. I like to have them sitting between my legs on a couch to do this. Just hold this here so she can't go backwards because she could just flip backwards. Good girl, Cougar. Good girl, Cougar.
Want to cheer upon?
Yeah. Maybe I could slip where you are. But you hold her. Did she purr?
At any time. No, I mean now that she's calmer and you're stroking her head.
Well, she's not growling as much. Now, you see, suddenly she can accept this in the towel. And the reason that I didn't put her in the towel immediately, I really want you to see the difference. Because sometimes you think, oh, it was just because she's up here and a little nervous that she was that way. But it's not, is it? The thing that's nice about the touches is that you can use these with any of the other methods, no matter what it is. That whether it's traditional, allopathic, veterinary medicine, or whether it's just for behavioral purposes, or the owner doing this work. You can work with your veterinarian and you can do the touches. Now this is quite different, isn't it? It's interesting. It's a good mama kitty. Now when I stroke her around the mouth, I'm really careful about how I fold my fingers. I don't stick my fingers in front of her mouth. I fold them back so that if she were to bite me, she has a hard time getting her mouth on my fingers. It's okay. Yes. Easy, lady. Easy. And I'm going to fold my fingers back even as I'm doing the touch on her. And actually, I'm just going to try something for the heck of it to see if I can get even less than a...
Put this on your lap.
No, this is better. Even less than a one pressure touch. Let me just see something. Interesting that I can do the hair slides and the growling stops. That's nice. It's okay. Now I'm using less than a, than a one touch. And you can feel this. If you would try something this light, imagine that having an effect. Do you have something you can if you've got a jacket or something, you can just take and just do the circles like that on your skin. There's no pressure, but it has an effect. Yeah, you just fold it up so it's not even through your hand. Just try this on yourself. Now notice she's standing up now. Sitting up.
Her eyes are softening.
And her eyes are softening, Tom says. Interesting, isn't it? She's still talking. Yeah, that's her language, isn't it? Yes. No, it's okay, sweetheart. It's a good kitty. It's a good kitty. It's a good kitty. Now, you noticed when she snapped just a moment ago, because the towel's around her shoulder, the normal reaction that followed that jumping didn't occur, and she was able to settle back in. And this is enough. This was a lot for her to come this far. And we never could have done this without the towel. It's a good girl. No, no. Now, when she starts to struggle like that, I just tighten this up so there's no room. This is right against the neck here, but there's no possibility of her struggling out of it. And yet it's not so tight that it makes her feel choked. It just makes her feel secure. It's a good mama kitty.
2 days ago, I would have sat with this cat like this. My hands probably would have been shredded, and I would be sitting here, or she wouldn't be in my lap, and I would be bleeding. She's had enough of the work in the last 2 days that it's made such a dramatic change that you're able to touch her on her body. We weren't even able to touch her anywhere near the back end of her body 2 days ago. And today we can touch her all over her body.
Very good, kitty. Okay, now working all the way down the tail like this is really helpful to give her a new sense of herself. What we find by these touches is that you activate neural impulses and parts of the body like that normally the cat doesn't feel. And the intent of the touches is to actually wake up the intelligence of the cells. So it's kind of like a wake-up call. So by these little circles, we go all over here and say, come on, feel this. And once your cat begins to feel different parts of the body, there is an increase in self-confidence. Also an increase in the cat's willingness to cooperate, which, as all of us cat owners know, sometimes they have a great mind of their own, which is the fun part of having cats. So I think that the touches sort of are a balance between respecting and admiring the individuality of the cat and at the same time helping them to adapt or to become more intelligent. That's nice. That's nice. Most of the time I go clockwise. If you've had an injury on a cat, what you might want to do is what we call the circle with the snail's tail. You imagine the face of the clock, and you put your fingers at 6, push gently around the face of the clock, past 6 to about 9 o'clock, make a little pause, and then slide the skin back to 6 and release. And what this does is seem to release pain. And we've done this on hundreds and, well, thousands of people by now. And this is a particular touch that is useful only in the case of, recovering injury or seeming pain in the body, because that little quarter of a counterclockwise circle at the end seems to just dissipate the pain. If you have a cat who is nervous, aggressive, or timid, work on the mouth. And it's hard to imagine working on a biting cat on the mouth, but it works because the mouth is one of our closest connections to the limbic system, the part of the brain that controls emotions. And when you get in here and very gently, yeah, it's a girl, yeah, it's nice, work first the outside of the lips, kind of work over the eyes a little bit here just to kind of get their cooperation and confidence here with these little circles. it really changes the behavior of cats. Now I'm going to see if I can get into her mouth with the very tiny tips of my fingers with these little raccoon circles. And I support her head very gently. There's a tendency to grasp the head, which will not be very popular. That's a girl. And I'm going to get up on the teeth as much as I can. Oh, yeah. And do little circles right under the lips like this. Now, at first your cat may not like this, so you have to be very gentle. And this is the first time, as far as I know, that Isabel has really had this work in her mouth. And I'm way up here under the lips. Now, you can see that this would also be a practical thing to do to increase the blood circulation on the gums, because often cats have to have rotten teeth removed. So doing a little bit of gum massage is something that will really help to keep these teeth healthier. That's a girl. That's nice. What do you think of that? And it just takes a few minutes a day to keep the doctor away from the teeth. That's nice. I was giving a presentation to a group of children a number of years ago, and I was working on a very aggressive kitten. And as I was working, I said, now, if you think about this when you're doing your kitten's mouth, if you are nervous or if you have a tendency to lose your temper, just work on your own mouth and lips in this way. And one of the mothers called me the next morning and said her son was so excited, her 7-year-old, on the way home, and said to her, I'm so glad I went to that talk tonight, because now I know when I lose my temper, instead of breaking my toys, I can work my lips. Same thing with the kitties, huh? When they lose their tempers, you can work their lips. Let's talk about the abdomen of your cat. If you have a cat who has difficulty eating, is a little picky eater, get in here and very gently work the abdomen. If you've had a cat that has just come back from surgery, say you've had your cat spayed, what you want to do is get in as gently as you possibly can with the lying leopard touch, with just the hand very lightly. Again, with this lightest pressure you can use to push the skin on your eyelid in a circle. And instead of working right on the surgery, kind of work around the sides, after doing the ears, of course, to reduce the trauma. And your cat will tell you if it's uncomfortable, you're pressing too hard. What I find is that if you do this very gently, that it helps heal faster, you'll reduce the swelling, and if you do it as soon as your cat gets home, you'll find that you'll get very little swelling from these incredibly gentle touches. And we're talking again, maybe 5 to 10 minutes of work, a couple of times a day when they first come back from surgery. It doesn't take a lot. If you have a kitten, working all over the body with these gentle touches, so that they'll kind of lie on their back like this, and you can go work all around the easy hind legs, and easy, and just kind of extend the legs and feet a little bit, and work down into the paws. You will find that your kitten will be more adaptable, will be very smart. And I've worked on a number of our own kittens that we've had from shelters in this way, and it's just incredible how quickly they become much smarter. Everywhere in the body, the ears. And speaking of ears and shelter cats, working in this way on a cat when they first come home from a shelter really helps to give a deeper relationship to you and reduce the fear and the trauma that a cat has coming from a shelter life, no matter what age that cat is. And I've had a number of attack cats that were unadoptable that I took from shelters. One of them was a cat named Sybil, who proceeded to chase our dogs out of the room, would attack other cats. And what you want to do with that cat is, first of all, sit down, work all over the cat in like 3 or 4 sessions, and then get another cat who's in your household who needs to get along with your new family member, and sit them down maybe 3 feet away from you and start one person working on, 2 people obviously, working on the cat, so that one person has one cat here and another cat maybe 3 feet away. And just kind of mellow them out, relax them, do little circles all over. That's it. Under the chins, in the mouth, in the ears, kind of work over the eyes softly until that cat is really happy in the presence of the other cat. And I do the same thing with the dog. Instead of punishing a cat for going after a dog, what I want to do is reduce the fear. Because what I feel is when an animal, cat or otherwise, is aggressive, it basically comes from a lack of confidence. So if we can give them confidence, which really makes a difference with these little circles, then they can integrate into a household much more quickly and with much less trauma. So Ralphie is about 3 years old, and she lives in a big household, several dogs and several cats, and she's at the bottom of the pecking order. And so she goes in a corner and won't come out?
She stays there all day. She never comes out.
So she never comes out of her corner. Now, what can we do for her to change her self-image? What?
Do touches on her whole body.
Do touches on her whole body. Would you like to put her, Cher? And I don't like to work cats on my lap unless I have a skirt on that has enough weight to the fabric that it doesn't fall through, or else put them on something where they feel safe. Or I like to sit on a couch and have them sort of between my legs, where the cat feels safe. Now you can just begin to work on her.
I've been working on her for several hours, and she's very good. She really seems to enjoy the touch all over, except we've been getting stopped at the tail each time. And a couple of times I got a little bit of flexibility in the tail. She would bring it out, and then it would go right back in like that again.
Okay, that's good. Now, did you notice when Cassandra first started to touch her, what did she begin to do with her hindquarters? Anybody notice? No, she started to lift them, didn't she? Didn't you see it? She started to lift them, and that's what a cat does if they like you. You know how they kind of get down on their front legs and they stick their little bottom up. And see if you can do some little really soft circular touches that will get her to kind of, stick her haunches up in the air. And you might try this. Let's just see something. You notice how she has her front legs curled under her? What I would suggest doing, as long as she stays in this body posture, she's going to be resisting. And you can do a lot of touches on her, but she won't make very many breakthroughs. She's very tight here in the elbows. She's really holding her legs close to her body. So one of the things you've got to do here, can you see that? How she's tightening? And that's her tendency to go into the corner. So we have to change that. So I'm going to open the shoulders from the elbows here.
And lift her here.
And you can lift her. And make sure she's comfortable. Put a hand here under, a little farther up, because around the flank area they don't like to be lifted. Can you see she just really, not too much there, she really tries to duck her head and tighten her elbows to her shoulders. If you want to change her behavior, you've got to change her instinctive posture. That's a girl. So we have to bring her head up a little bit. That's a girl. Let's do some little circles here. The whole shoulder. Gracious me, what an indignity. Boy, is she tight in the shoulders. That's a girl. So easy, easy. That's a girl. Now let's see if you can sit her back, put your legs together, sit her back in your lap, And that's it. Now this is going to be hard for her. That's a girl. You can see if you can do it. That's a girl. It's a very good kitty. Oh, yes.
Can I work them out?
Now she's really tightening here. Yeah. Oh, careful, careful. Oh, yes. Push on anything you can push on. Just get back in your little corner and hide your head. You got to open these. Open this up. Open. That's nice. Now I'm just very softly. I'm not pulling on this lower leg. What I'm doing, you see, above the knee here, I'm just softly opening. Come on. That's a girl. That's a girl. That's nice. Last year, when I was giving a course, a workshop for humans at Esalen, somebody brought a cat in who was about 9 months old and was a come down the road cat. And come on, let's see if you can let go. That's it. And she'd been just a great companion until the day before my workshop started. She had started yowling and hiding in the closet and wouldn't come out. And so I brought her out to work on her, and I found that her paws were tightened under her, just like hers were, just tight as could be. And when I started to work on her, I realized that everything was drawn together, and I suddenly realized she must be in her first cat heat. And her paws were just as tight as could be. And you just start working on her paws. You open this leg up. So I opened up the elbows, extended her body, worked her little legs, worked down into the paws. Look at her look on her face. A good girl. Yes, a pretty girl. Pretty girl. Yeah. And it took about 20 minutes. She went home, went back to lying on the typewriter and helping with the husband who was doing the writing. Of course, we suggested she take her to the vet immediately, have her problem relieved. Come on, that's a girl. That's a girl. That's nice. Now her face is changing a little, isn't it? You see that? She's relaxing a little bit. Eyes are starting to close a little. Oh, yeah. Now this isn't half bad, is it? No. That's nice. And this helps with 2 people. If you can get a friend to help you with this, it's great. That's it. And this is where just doing the circular touches are not enough. You have to watch the body language, and if there's closure or holding, open. That's it. That's very nice. Hey, she looks like Puss in Boots, doesn't she? Is she Puss in Boots? Is this the real thing? That's nice. That's nice. That's it. And this is where working the ears, now with her open on her back, really helps, because that will start to relieve some of the stress of just being here. Oh my goodness. Stroke the ears from the base all the way out to the tips. That's nice. Get in your little mouth here again. Yeah. That's a girl. That's a girl. That's very nice. Now let's see if we can put her on. That's a good kitty. It's all right. I like the way she looks, doesn't she? Think, what's next? Now, can we get in here? We want you, instead of crouching, I want you to stand up, take her tail. Oops. Now, this is a funny position for a cat. Yeah, I know. Now, see how the back is hunched? What I want to do here is see if I can just work this little back a little bit behind your shoulders. She said it was easier on my back. You can do it. You can do it. Now I'm going to take her on her side, just because she's so intent on holding when she's on all 4 legs. It's okay, sweetheart. No, it's okay. It's okay. Now let's try. Let's try this. Oh, yeah. Let's try this. That's nice. Yes. Good girl. Good girl. Do you see her open her mouth? She's a little stressed when she does that. So I'll just softly work her nose and her eyes here to relax her. That's better, isn't it? You let him see your face. Yeah. Yeah, her tail's more relaxed now. And you can see these different positions that she has to go into, and it's really helpful to work. Oops. To work a few. Turkey troubles?
Yes.
It's really helpful to work a few minutes and then leave her completely alone. Now let's get this tail again. Just a little bit. See her crouch up? Let's get these little hips. Let's open these little hips here. Open up, open up. Oh, this is funny. I know it's funny. That's a girl. That's a girl. That's a girl. That's it.
So you don't want her to crouch then, or the
No. As long as she's in that crouching position, she's into this protective. Yeah. Yeah.
Is that one of those no-think positions?
No think position. Totally instinctive hiding. That's enough. That's enough. Okay, let's just stand you up once more. Open these legs up this way again. Little flying kitty. That's it. That's it. And it would be worthwhile on her to open these shoulders, the scapula, because she's so tight. And just gently work here. Yes. And when I say gently, I'm kind of going in here between the top of the shoulder blades. And see, she doesn't mind this here. That's nice. What do you think? It's not that she loves it, but if she hated it, she'd really be objecting. She'd be hissing. That's what I want you to do. Now that I want her to push like that. Because you know when cats like something, you know how they push against you like that? So you can encourage that movement. That was nice. She tipped her ear in my direction. That's a girl. And now she's opening up. Can you see her lifting a little? See, that's a different posture, isn't it? She's looking around a little bit more. She's not hugging the ground as much as she was. Good kitty. Good kitty. Now see the back start to come up just a little. Just a little. Can you get up here? It says maybe, I don't know. But encourage this. That's nice. That's nice. Nope, she said, I think I feel safer here. But at least, see how she gave her head to you that way? There. That's nice. So what you want to do is look for the little improvements. Our tendency as humans is to see what the problem is, and then they make a little improvement and say, oh, she's doing that old thing again. Look for every little improvement and encourage the improvements. We find that we use a touch a great deal for working with injuries. And one of the common injuries is to the hindquarters of the tail. Recently I was called by a friend who had a cat run over by a car, and it seems like that they managed just to miss the body of the cat, but the tail gets caught. And this cat couldn't be touched anywhere on the tail and was very sensitive about it. So I suggested starting with a soft lying leopard touch, very gentle, just around across the pelvis, and then working down to include the tail, and spend maybe 5 minutes at a time with the lightest possible touches above, that is on the body, above the tail entry, and then below the tail entry. And after 3 10-minute sessions, the cat was moving better and the swelling was dramatically reduced. And I find that if you've got a timid cat, it's really important to include the tail in the self-image so that you just do these gentle touches all over. Now see, the cat won't let you, your cat won't let you touch the body or the tail. What we find really helps in the beginning is to take a towel and put the cat in the towel. Now we're really careful about how we do this in terms of making the cat feel okay about this. Cats are easily insulted. And I want this kitty to feel that she's got her paws, all 4 feet, firmly on the ground. So I just take the towel and wrap it gently around the chest here, and I always have her up against me like this so there's nowhere to back out, and she feels more confident. Now I can begin the lying leopard soft touches through the towel. And I'll sometimes get to the really sensitive parts of the body, like the tail, in this way. If you've got a cat who doesn't want to be touched at all or is afraid of strangers, this is, or doesn't like to be groomed, as a matter of fact, this is a really good way to start it. And we find that with the long-haired cats who have difficulty with grooming, that starting in this way, so that we give them a nice experience, gets them so that they appreciate the contact with the body. And then we'll take, like I would start here, for instance, with one of the really gentle grooming combs. And before I put the comb on, I start the little strokes with my fingers. And then I'd remove the towel. That's nice. So it's just on a little bit. And I'd start little bits of brushing with my fingers. And I might even have the comb in my other hand, just make a little bit of contact with these really sensitive, overly sensitive cats. And start in this way. And what I find is essential is to respect what the cat is telling you. I've had people say, well, I don't know why my cat is resisting. I'm not doing this hard. And the cat's standing there, wanting out of there. The fact is, it's hard to the cat. So breathe into your strokes with the comb. So often, what I find is that if we don't like doing something, what we'll do is do it faster to get it over with, and that doesn't work. Just calmly work on the areas first that are comfortable, and then do the areas that aren't, that their cat isn't so sure about. And separate the hair. And when there's fear on the part of your cat, just go in and do a few little touches between the strokes with the comb. One of the tips that I think is important is we often have cats come to us who have had their claws removed because of clawing furniture. And if that has already happened, which I think is too bad, then work in around the pads to reduce the fear that's come from the removal of the claws. It's like a phantom limb. So give attention to those paws. And recently, I had a real problem with a cat who was raised by one of our monkeys. And she was wrestling with the monkey like a cat and digging her claws into her face, and we just had to do something, and I won't remove the claws. So the solution was to put little caps on the claws, which last about 6 months, which your veterinarian can do. It's not expensive, and our cat could still climb trees, but she didn't make these scratches on the monkey's face. So sit down with your cat, try some of these touches, remember to breathe, use your hands in all these different ways, and have fun with your favorite feline friend.